Hey guys, we are doing a January reading wrap up. I read 6 books this month, which I'm proud of because honestly, I was in the biggest slump the whole first 2 weeks of January, and then the last couple weeks of the month, I just read so much. I don't know where it came from. It was just a sudden burst of motivation and energy to read. The first 2 books I read this month were both uni books. I read them for my classes, so I'm not that into them and I'm not that interested in them because I was required to read them. So I'm just going to quickly brush over them. The first book I read was The Hunter by Julia Lee. I gave this book 2 stars. It was okay. It was good. It was well written and it was short, which I loved because I hate when uni assigns me long books. It's hard to get through. I did find myself interested in this book, but I gave it 2 stars because it's nothing that I would ever pick up in my spare time. I wasn't invested. I just didn't find any interest in it at all. Not much happens in the book. It's a lot of just him thinking, and I didn't care much for what he was thinking. I'm gonna roughly say what this book was about, because honestly I don't care too much for it. But it follows this man who was assigned a job to hunt the last Tasmanian devil in Tasmania for his job so that he can get it for scientific research, and just to say that he's found the last Tasmanian devil. It was really boring actually. Now that I'm talking about it, I didn't love it, but I couldn't fault it and give it 1 star when I did enjoy the way it was written, as well as like the themes to it, because I did have to study it and the themes were there and it was done well. Just didn't care for it. Anyways, moving along. By the way, I don't have any of these books physically. I got them on my Kindle because if I was to buy every book that uni assigned me, I would have 0 room. I already have 0 room on my shelf, so I can't be going out buying every book that uni gives me. Anyways, the next book I read was The Arsonist by Chloe Hooper. This book I didn't rate because this book is actually non-fiction and it is about the Australian wildfires, which are now known as Black Saturday. And it was kind of a true crime. It was about the guy who supposedly lit the fires and the court hearings that followed afterwards and all the implications to do with everything to do with Black Saturday. I didn't rate it because I feel like it feels so wrong to rate a book that's based on a true story, especially one of this like importance, not even importance, I don't know how to say it, but one of this serious nature. You get what I'm saying. I did enjoy this one quite a bit actually, because like I'm saying, it was like a true crime and I love true crime. If you know me, you know I love true crime. So I really did enjoy this one, and if it's something you're interested in, I definitely recommend reading it because it was knowledgeable. I didn't even know that the Black Saturday fires were lit by someone. I don't know why I assumed it was just because of our hot weather, which is why the fires happened. I thought it was just a normal bushfire from the heat, but there's so much more, and it was just cool to learn about a story in a place in which I actually live. But yeah, anyways, moving on, those are both my uni books done, and now I can talk about my books that I have chosen to read. The first book that I chose to read for myself this month was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I know I'm really late to this, guys. I'm so late because I was scared that it was going to be overhyped, and unfortunately I was a little bit right. I gave The Housemaid 3 stars because I feel like it was very predictable. I was out here reading it, making up these predictions in my head that were insane predictions. I'm thinking of the craziest plot twists possible, and then I read it and I get to the end and I'm like, oh, so there isn't really that much of a plot twist because I saw this coming. I just didn't think to even assume this because it's so predictable. I wish I could tell you everything that I was thinking, but I don't want to put spoilers, but I just was very disappointed. However, I did still give it 3 stars because I was hooked. I was still hooked on like why things were happening, and just the characters were actually interesting to me. They're the best Frida McFadden characters I've read so far in any of her books. Except One by One. One by One was pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the predictions that I made in my head would have made for such a better story than the one that was actually in the story. Definitely not one of my favourite Freida McFadden's. I've read much better from her. But the characters did carry and I was still entertained. So the next book I read, I actually have a physical copy of, is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. This book was really good. I was expecting it to be really good because it sounds and looked right up my alley. Like the whole dystopian young adult. Of course I'm gonna love it, but I wasn't expecting it to be this good. I gave this one 4.5 stars. Honestly, looking back at it, I don't know why I didn't just give it 5. I don't know why I faulted it by that 0.5 star. Really, I don't. I'm trying to think. Maybe it's because I read it much slower than I read all the other books this month. But I honestly think that's just because of how busy I was and nothing to do with the actual book itself. But in my head, I think when I read a book slower, I just don't love it. Because in reality, if I really, really love a book, I put aside everything else and just binge read it. I read it so quickly. So that might be part of the reason why I gave it 4.5 instead of just 5. Because I just didn't fly through it. And I didn't feel the urge to keep picking it up. And I didn't keep thinking about it when I wasn't reading it. Like how I do with a lot of my other 5-star reads. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, like I said, this book is a dystopian young adult and it follows Kiva, who is a prison healer. She is locked in the prison of Zalindov. I really hope I'm saying that right. And her job is to heal incoming prisoners or just prisoners who have gotten injured. I also don't want to say too much about this book because I don't want to spoil it, and I feel like the less you know going into it, the better. But it does involve trials and it does involve a lot of plot twists. Really good plot twists. So I definitely recommend reading this one. Put it up higher on your TBR because I feel like this is on a lot of people's TBR, but it's just not high enough. So put it up there, guys. After I read Prison Healer, I of course read Onyx Storm. Oh my god. I gave it 5 stars. I like this better than Fourth Wing. Okay, so Fourth Wing, I loved it. It was amazing. I gave it 4.5 stars though because I didn't love the romance in Fourth Wing. I loved the plot of Fourth Wing, and of course I loved Violet and Xaden. I just didn't feel too obsessed with Violet and Xaden when I read Fourth Wing. Like when I read a romance book and I really love the couple, I will think about them all the time. So with Violet and Xaden, I wasn't constantly thinking about them like how I do with my other favourites. But I did love the plot and I did love their relationship, and obviously their relationship and the romance isn't the main plot, so that's why I only took it off 0.5 stars. Anyways, I'm ranting about Fourth Wing. I'm talking about Onyx Storm. This one I gave 5 stars because everything was perfect. Xaden hit so different in this. I'm obsessed with him. But also just the plot. I love a book that makes you think, and when I finished this I was doing a lot of thinking. I'm still processing the ending. I feel like that is also why I loved it more than I loved Fourth Wing, because Fourth Wing was so like easy to follow and straightforward, and when I ended it I was like, oh wow, like insane ending, but oh wow, that was nice. This I'm like, wait, what is going on? And I love when books make me say what is going on. Can for sure say that it was much better than Iron Flame. Iron Flame was not my favourite, and I was kind of scared to read Onyx Storm because of that. Like, I was so excited for Iron Flame, and then I was disappointed, and my excitement for Onyx Storm lessened because I didn't want to go into it like I did with Iron Flame and be disappointed all over again. But safe to say, it's perfect. I cannot wait for whatever comes next from Rebecca Yarros. She is amazing and she is mean for what she puts us through, but I love this. And let me say, I love Xaden, but Riddick carried this book. Anyways, next. The last book I read of the month, I actually listened to audiobook of. It is Keep It in the Family by John Mars. Now this one was a thriller. I liked it. I gave it 3 stars. Kind of the same feeling as The Housemaid. It was good, but I feel like my mind was more creative than what the book was. And let me tell you, this book was very creative. I just have things going on in here and I don't know why. Whenever I read thrillers, I go crazy in my mind, which is probably a bad thing, but I don't know. I liked it, but it was more disturbing than it was thrilling. I felt more of a shock factor in the things that were happening in this book, where I was disturbed and disgusted. Rather than the shock factor of a plot twist, it was more like the shock factor of how disturbing it was. I really hope that makes sense, but I was just reading it, well, listening to it, feeling more disgusted and disturbed than I was confused and shocked by who done it type of thing. I don't know if any of that made any sense.
Okay, pause. Before I continue yapping, I completely forgot to summarize what this book is even about, so that's what I'm going to do now. But this book essentially follows a young couple who move into a new house. However, their dreams of moving into this new house are slowly crushed because things take a dark turn and they uncover secrets about their house's past but also their families, and it gets pretty insane and pretty intense very quickly.
But this was my first John Mars book, and I actually think I'll read more of his stuff because I have been looking for the thrillers that go more into just like disturbing storylines rather than like the plot twist that just happens on the last page in like a lot of other thrillers I've read. Like Frida McFadden is well known for her plot twist, but I never feel very disturbed reading her books, whereas this John Mars book specifically, well, it's the only one I've read. I don't know about his other ones, but this one, it was just gross. I was listening to it and I was like, ew, like, that's so uncomfortable. But it was so interesting and entertaining. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I just expected more of a plot twist. I felt like it was obvious to where things were going the whole time. I don't know if that was the intention, and John Mars was just trying to focus more on the disturbing storyline. But yeah, I do recommend it. Just trigger warnings and be warned that it is uncomfortable to read or listen to. But yeah, those are all the books I read in the month of January. I am very happy with how this month has went for reading because I really thought we were starting off terribly, but I picked it back up and I'm excited to see what I read in February. Can't wait. But thank you for watching, and I hope you do read at least one of these from this video and enjoy it. Bye!